Hello, hello, and welcome. Happy New Year. It's been so long since the last stream. Glad to see a lot of people are here in the chat already. Can you hear me all right? It's been a long time since I had the setup. Um, yeah, I'm Emmy. This is Godot Tomorrow, a stream where we talk about a little bit what we are doing at the Godot Foundation, what we're doing at the Godot project, and yeah, this year I want to do many changes, not only to the stream, but also like we've been discussing internally how we do the communication in general, like for releases and stuff like that. So I will ask a lot of questions today. So if you are happy to answer, I will gladly take your responses. So what I had in mind for today, first of all, I need to announce this. Oh, and now that I see the TV, I forgot to press play. Let me do that. That's there. But YouTube finally sent the plaque. You can see yourself there reflected. You can see the chat for the 100,000 subscribers. So thank you everyone for subscribing to the channel. I was honestly a bit disappointed. It's super lightweight. This looks very fake. So if you want some, you can probably make it yourself. But this one's for you. And gonna leave it there, and whenever we have a Godot office, we're gonna hang it there. Very proud. So yeah, play buttons used to be super big, and I see them in other videos now, and yeah, these ones are a little bit disappointed, but understandable. There might be so many people now with channels with 100k. So yeah. So what I thought about doing today is reviewing everything that happened last year, since the first post until the last one. I might speed through some of the bug fixes, releases, and things like that, but I think it would be a nice experiment to see everything that happened, because sometimes once you're like in the year itself, everything goes so fast, and everything's kind of like you're always waiting for the next thing that you don't notice about what has happened already. And if we had time at the end, we can do a Q&A. I'm not sure, but I'm always happy to answer questions while we are doing this. So let's go. I have the browser here. I went and I opened all the links. Here it's in our website. We do have our blog where we post our news. Last update was from December, so there hasn't been anything in 2025 yet. 2026. I need to get used to. But the first post we did was on January 2nd, 2025. It was Godot C# packages moved to .NET 8, which was a really good update. I think a lot of people really like from Godot itself that we are using the main .NET instead of having Mono or something like that. So you can always have the latest features, which, you know, it's a lot of work, especially we only have one person working on this. There's volunteers, of course, but having to be always keeping it up to date is something that also distracts us from doing the new stuff. But I really like Raul's posts. They are very, very popular as well, because people who are into C# really go into technical details. And I'm sure there will be another post soon by Raul in our blog about the new C#. So yeah, we start with the C# every year maybe, and it's a new tradition. But yeah, still no idea when that post will be out. We'll probably have a release before that. But yeah, this was the first post we did. The second one was talking about the UID changes, which was quite controversial. I don't know if you are using UIDs in your project. I mean, I know if you're using the latest version, you are, but how was your experience so far? We heard a lot of people really liking it, and what I think it's something that people don't really know is that when we make a change like this, it's not about the people who are complaining, but about the people who are not complaining anymore. Because if something works, you don't really complain about it. So we seen a decrease in the people who were having their projects explode because they moved a file or something like that. That doesn't mean that it's still perfect, but I think we made a lot of progress, and there's still some progress coming in 4.5, 4.6, based on this timeline. This was for 4.4. So yeah, Hugo went into the reasoning. I think, we tried to get all what we had in terms of like the reasons why we were going this way and not other ways. I think it worked out pretty well. I still use paths. I've seen many people typing things like this, which might be useful. I still use paths, and that should work as well if you remind yourself to update it. But it's mostly about the changes that happen internally in Godot, which, it's very important that things don't break. There are still many issues. Wow, this post was really long. There was too long didn't read. That's maybe why a lot of people still complain about it. But yeah, there's still some things that we're changing, and people in big teams, especially a few days ago, well, last year already, we did an internal game jam. We do that sometimes, like very short game jams to try Godot with the other people at the foundation. And we had many issues with version control and collaborating at the same time. But we try to use those experiences to also address those issues. Hopefully in the future it will be better. But yeah, let's see. Lucky saying in the chat, it had to be done. Yes, it had to be done. Unfortunately, for making bigger projects, this is a necessity. And yeah, for a more stable editor, I think everybody wants that. The goal is that when you're using Godot, you don't really notice that Godot is there. So the last thing you want to do is just move a file in a different place and everything breaking. But yeah. All right. Next one was on 16th of January 2025. We have here a picture with web phishing, but web phishing, I believe, is made in Godot 3, even if this is a Godot 4.4 beta. And the beta ones are usually like big posts that we do. So we do all the snapshots, right? Like the things that we are adding. And then we do beta 1 is basically, you are going to get this in the next version of Godot when it releases. So from now on until then, we're only going to be fixing bugs and things like that. So you can see that the blog post here like has all the highlights of the different areas, and you can jump area by area into what might be interesting to you. In this case, we have a lot of pretty pictures like this one for the visualization of where the particles. The tone mapper was something that a lot of people liked. Anyway, this format is something that we've seen people not liking so much lately. I don't know, what are your thoughts in terms of like big long text? It's really, really hard to make, to compile all this information and then show it in a way that's digestible. And then that's, look, I'm scrolling and I'm still halfway through. And it's also very, very dependent on who's contributing in that area. Here for audio, we only had one thing. So yeah, let's see. I like descriptive informations. I like, I always love the long post. I like them. So yeah, I think everybody likes them, but I need to check properly like what's actually like the best way to make this. We've been discussing lately about changes, and this is basically like the text version of the later fancy release page that we do. But it requires a lot of time, and yeah. I think the most important about this is also crediting the people who worked on this. this one was very useful. I've been talking about this example on many of the talks I've been giving last year. I get invited to events and I go to represent Godot and I give a talk, and this is a good example of a feature that somebody requested, somebody else did a PR for it, then somebody else at the foundation did the review for it and ended up being in a release. So every person along the way that contributed to this feature were different people. And that's something that, it's a great way to showcase how things get into the engine. Perhaps the people who are here are the ones who like having as much information as possible. Yes, that's completely true. That's why it's a bit difficult to gauge, like, are we doing something wrong with this post that people are not visiting them that much, or they don't have a lot of repercussion in social media and stuff? Or is it that, how do we ask? Because if we ask the people on our blog, then the people will say, yeah, that's great, because they read the blog all the time. So yeah. People who don't read as much will get it from YouTubers anyway. Yes, a lot of YouTubers go and cover this sort of posts, and that's great. Sometimes inaccurately, sometimes I'm even myself do these mistakes because we cannot know all the different sections, but it's hard for us to anticipate what will people be talking about. Sometimes we spend a lot of time and effort fixing a problem, and we think people are going to be super happy. And then when the release, like a big release like this one comes out, then everybody is interested in something else. And it's like all the attention goes to that. So like it would be nice for us to be able to adapt to that and highlight what people are interested in, and then leave the other stuff, for the people who really wants to read everything. Just having the info somewhere is great, because sometimes you might search for it and find the post. Hey Tibo says, yeah, that's true. Which, by the way, Hey Tibo is helping us out at the foundation, working in the new release page for 4.6. So I'm really excited about it. I've seen some drafts of it and looks amazing. So yeah, looking forward to that release page. Let's see. Billy Drink says, the only way to ask as many people as possible is to have a form from within Godot. Anything else will be biased towards the people who actively engage and follow the development of the engine. Yes, I think it's something that we have to include in the yearly poll. And we have to also, maybe, I'm going to scroll so we don't get the bouncing balls all the time. It's something that maybe we have to include in the project manager, like other projects have like a banner at the top that says, like this is this version and things like that. And then maybe we can swap them out when we are doing the yearly poll and say like, hey, if you're a Godot user, we need to know what you think about it. Give us your feedback. But then it's like people who fill polls are also like some particular set of users. If you're a game developer that wants to ship your game, probably you're not going to be spending the time on that. You're going to be so focused on it. But yeah, it's something that we need to actually research more. But yeah, keep them long, but a lot of non-readers wait for content creators to read and go over. So if they don't visit it, yeah, I think content creators would be really the key here. But yeah, very long post, a lot of things, and of course we always have the interactive changelog, which maybe could be good to include them like embedded here at the end, so you don't have to click extra. But anyway, quite good. And this part around here at the end of every post, we end up saying, hey, like, if you like this and if you want us to keep doing what we're doing, you should consider donating. I think I'm gonna start removing that from the blog post, another banner at the bottom of the page, so they are not included in the posts, which will exclude people who are reading from RSS feeds. But I feel like people are just not reading the last part, and since It's something we ask all the time. Might be better just to leave it out and leave a banner that we can tweak and explore with that. Donating monthly. Yeah. Thank you to all the people who donate. I really appreciate it. Like, we had so many people signing up last month during December that we had a huge ugly banner. It worked out pretty well. So I'm sorry, but what you can expect this December of 2026. Okay, let's move on. Otherwise, we're not gonna be able to cover all the year. Still in January. Oh my god, this might be longer than I expected. Um, our first Con in the US. So this was great, and I really enjoyed it. It was a small Con, but the first time that we did something there. There was a lot of confusion about this because the European edition was going to be handled by a different team, and that team decided to call that event Godot Fest. So people thought that we were not going to have any Godot event in Europe. The political situation was a bit weird at the time, so a lot of people were confused about why we were doing it in the US. But it's very important, I think, that for us, one of our goals is that people in every place can go and meet their local communities. So it's not that we want everybody in the world to travel to a single location. Like, we don't want everyone to go to Europe, or everyone to go to Asia, or everyone to go to the United States. So ideally, we would have different events around the world, and you can go to the closest one to you. And yeah, this one was great. And as far as I know, it will happen again this year. So I'm looking forward to it. And we also have some news that I might be covering in the next Godot Tomorrow stream next Wednesday about the new GodotCon that we are organizing in Amsterdam, which is the city that got the most votes. It's the city where the foundation, the Godot Foundation, is based on. So I think it will be very, very, very interesting to see what we can do there. And we are looking for venues. And one of the venues is very, very close to the Blender studio. So they're going to have to put up with us a little bit longer. Okay. And now first, GodotCon in Canada. There was a team working on it. The problem, it's the budget. If we're able to do a big Godot event in Canada, I would love to. I've never been to Canada, to the West Coast. I only been into the East Coast, so it would be nice to do an event in the West Coast and cover that too. Okay, 2024. This was a post by Nat, still January, with a cherry pick of what I'm doing right now, just picking the highlights from previous year. So this is now an inception. We are on 2024, so I'm gonna go to the next one. Beta 2. So as we say always, the beta posts are things that we really are just fixing bugs, so they are not as interesting. I'm gonna skip them over because we're getting to the half an hour mark. Then we got beta 3 in February, beta 4 in February as well, RC1, so a release candidate for 4.4. And this is when we're getting closer and we say okay, this might be it. And it's always a good opportunity when we release this. A lot of people who haven't tried the beta or haven't tried the dev snapshots, they give it a go. So we find a lot of things. And the RC1 is never the release. But yeah. Then February, I did an interview to Maya, if I remember. Yes, Maya, who is the developer behind the Museum of All Things, which was a really, really cool project. It's a project that basically lets you navigate through Wikipedia in a procedural map. So instead of clicking on links and opening different pages, you go through different rooms of a museum, and you can go see the pictures around, walk around it, read about the different entries. And of course, everything is open source, and it even has a VR port. You can even get it in the Quest and all that. So if you want to try it out, I really, really recommend it. Museum of All Things. It's free. You should give it a go. It's really interesting. There's also race mode where you can try to get as fast as possible from one place to another place, right? Like you start on philosophy, you need to end up in Godot engine, for instance. So that's something that it's really cool to play around. And each link to another exhibition will have its own roads. So that was a great interview. I hope we can do more of this. We always struggle with highlighting what the people are doing. We know we have a very big megaphone in our website, in our channels, and we want to put it in front of people that are doing cool things. So if we get more time this year, I would like to see more of these interviews for specific projects. But we're still in February and we're still releasing RC2s. I also wanted to say, like, we've been highlighting in each release a game, but lately I noticed that might be because of the trend of how games are going right now. It's really hard to see the text over the image of the game itself. And I don't know if it's because of the screenshots that we're picking or that games became more crowded. Like everything has so much information on the screen that it's really hard for us to put the Godot logo and the text over it. So we might want to adapt this card image to maybe leave a little bit more room for the image or the text in a different position. I don't know. I think it's a bit hard to read, but you know, every time we do a release, we want to give a shout out to a developer. Yeah. RC3. Okay, this is February still. But I think this is the last one, right? Yes. Finally, we got to the 4.4 release. And this one was a big one. A lot of people really liked it. It's been called, like, by many people, what Godot 4 should have been. But I think they're exaggerating. I think 4.0, 4.1, 4.2, and 3 were also really good. But yeah, we also had the page built by Adam and Nat contributing on the text. And we have all these amazing videos also by Thibaut and different people who contributed to it. Jolt was a big one. Remember when everybody was complaining about physics in Godot? Now I don't hear it anymore. And that's great. So there are some things that we still need to fix, but it's here to not have that recurrent theme. I remember before this, every time like, oh, Godot physics is so bad. Oh, Godot physics is so bad. Oh, but you cannot do physics. I know I'm biased because I love Godot like my child, but I think it was okay. I don't think it was that bad. There were a lot of games using Godot physics. They were just fine. But of course, as soon as you wanted to do something a little bit more complicated, then, you know, it showed it cracked. But now that we have Jolt, I don't hear anything. So I'm happy about it because that means that people are happy. Then we had like the different improvements to this, the VR editor. Oh my god, like this one is huge. I still don't believe you can do that. I tried it. It's a bit challenging if you're not used to having the headset all the time. But the fact that you can do this, it's great. The Uber shaders, that was also a great improvement, like how you don't have to actually be waiting for things to load as you're playing. You can load them before. Like that's great contribution by Dario. Dario is a rendering wizard working for W4 Games. He's been great. The tone mapping that I mentioned before, which this image by Passive Star and Allen is incredible. Like you can see like the effect that you can have. And I've been into this specific scenario. I wanted to do a neon sign and I couldn't, and I ended up having to do like very weird things. So now it's good to just change the tone mapper in the camera, and that's it. um but yeah. Yeah, happy new year to everyone that's joining us today. 3D physics interpolation. So this one is great. It's very satisfying to see. It's like this format works really well. um no, another thing that, like, without interpolation, a lot of people had to crank up the physics tick rate. That's why it made it slower. Now that we have it, I don't hear people complaining about it as often, and you can do a lot more like mess with your physics bodies. So that's great. um wow, it had a lot of things. um we are still not even halfway through uh the UIDs. This is the ugliest part. What we showed here in the image is kind of like, okay, get ready to have a lot of files. But if you're not looking to your project in this way, I think it's okay. um Still would be nice to, in a future, find a way to make a file to, have that included in the metadata or something like that. But it is what it is. I think it's a perfectly fine solution. This is the feature we were talking about before that contribute a lot of people. I love like how Passive Star can create these sort of scenes, and they look so good. But yeah, placing objects in 3D, it's less annoying. Favorite items, to pin them in the inspector. That was very, very popular. The camera preview, everybody was using a plugin to get the camera preview there, and it ended up being here. So yeah, I don't think it looks as cool as the small preview at the corner of the viewport, but there's many reasons why it has to be there, and it's easier, and it doesn't get in the way of your scene, and you're not covering anything. So I think it's a win still. Um, is it someone's job to just make this post and the examples? Yes. I mean, there's someone, in this case it was Adam, who was assigned to make the website, like the page, so how the cards look and all that. The release team basically picks all the highlights from what we want to showcase, and then somebody needs to get someone, to do videos, to do all that. Adam did a lot of these videos himself, and the copy, like the copy, when I say copy, is the text, was written by the contributors who made the post, and then Nat made it sound more like a human instead of like a documentation page. And yeah, in general, many of these issues, like many of these PRs, already have some videos and examples we can take directly from there, but many other times we have to recreate them. But yeah, and this time we're gonna do a collaboration. We have Thibaut, as I said, helping us out with this, and we also have GDQuest. The team at GDQuest is helping us out with the text, with the information that will happen there. And yeah, we also have, since there's the new theme, we have Passive Star also helping us out with some screenshots of the editor and some things like that. Ideally, I would like to find a way that we can make more of these pages more approachable for new people, because the goal of these pages is to attract new users. Like we were discussing before, we had like this very long post with all the technical details. Those are for users that are already using Godot, and they want to know everything. This is more like, hey, maybe you used Godot before, you can check it out again. Maybe you're waiting for some of these features to give it a go, or maybe you're new to game development and you get more familiar with the things you find here. So it's to attract new users, let's say, because at the end of the day, like, people who want a feature and know how development works will probably go to the GitHub itself to read it. But yeah. And yeah, export tool button annotation. That was huge. A lot of people wanted this one. I remember all the hacks you had to do to get that button there. But yeah. What do you think about OpenUSD? The short answer is too big for Godot to implement, but we actually do it by transforming the USD to GLTF and reading that. But maybe if we get time for a Q&A at the end, you can ask again and I can go more in depth about it. But yeah, cool that it exists. I think a lot of people are really, really hyped about it, but it's not really replacing anything that we currently have. Let's see. Oh, the user theme icons. That's good, especially if you're making more like a software kind of icon. Linux camera support. That's good. Metal backend rendering. This is huge, right? Like having a specific renderer for Mac, which is what you are actually expected to do, because what we do before was basically translate all the code from Vulkan to Metal. So now it's not doing that anymore. That's a contributor called Stuart, who's been working on the Mac side of things. He's a volunteer. Like, we don't have anyone hired to work on this specifically. He's been crushing it and doing all this. So if you're using a Mac, like I am currently streaming from there, and you're doing a Godot game, you already benefit from this greatly. So yeah. What do you think about GLTF interactive editions Chronos is working on? Well, until there is no standard, we are very late to implementing something. Like, we want to work with technologies that have been proven to work, so we don't have to burden our users with dealing with a system that might not be battle tested yet. But optimistically waiting for it. Yeah, the .NET that we covered before in the upgrade, in the first post of the year, the lookat modifier, that was also really cool. And this video explains it so well. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you read the text. If you see a video of it, it's so much better. The jiggle, which very important for a very certain kind of games. And yeah, time markers. So many things in this release. WAV loading, faster imports, navigation, physics debugging, the blend of the shadows. Look at those shadows, how soft they get. Vertex shading. Ooh, this one. Everybody that was making a retro PS1 kind of game wanted this one, and it's great to have it, but it's one of those things also that once you get it, you don't hear anyone else talking about it. And I'm sure all those retro kind of horror games are using it and loving it. I never seen anyone talk good or bad about it again. So that's a good sign, because that means that everybody is happy. And this video, it's just great as well. I don't know who made it. Probably was on the PR. Anyway, big release, big release. Made possible by all these people. Here, like, the size of the name is the amount of contributions they did. So you can see there's a lot of people, and it takes a village to make something like this. Okay, here you have the credits. I don't know who was asking for like the who made this, and if somebody got tasked to do it. Here's everybody that contributed. There's also a lot of people who review the page and are not here, but still. Okay, March. Oh my god. we're not gonna be able to get through the entire year at this pace. Um, let's go a little bit faster then. An XR update. I think the XR team does a very good job of communicating with people. They always make blog posts talking about what they are working on. They cover many things. Like it's not about one topic, but just many things. But if you're not in the XR world, you're not interested. So this is something that's very polarizing. A lot of people is telling us like, hey, why are you working on these XR things? But in reality, the people who are working on XR are getting paid by companies who are sponsoring a specific work in XR. Especially during previous year, we had, for instance, Kronos sponsoring us to work on XR. So it's not like we are taking resources away from somewhere else. And all the improvements that we do to VR usually are improvements that the mobile renderer gets benefits from, or Android. All the Android improvements that are necessary for the new XR platforms also are, good ways to benefit from it. But again, Bastian does a great job of updating the community. Bastian also is doing streams on his channel, so you should look him up. He's sometimes covering his own development of stuff. Let's go to the next one. Okay, after release, what happens? We find bugs. What happened with those bugs? We need to fix them. So we need to prepare 4.4.1. And this is a new release candidate with basically all the fixes that, people are now seriously using it. They found some things we need to fix. And we get started with 4.5. So these are usually, like the first posts are usually very big because everything that wasn't able to be merged on the previous one needs to get merged now. And we have some of the 4.5 like nice features, like the muting the game audio there, preloading on drag and drop of UIDs, selecting multiple remotes on the interactive mode. That's also something that was requested a lot. The chunking of the tile maps. So if you had a great map, you can actually have less polygons and have a more performance scene. And all of this happened, all these other highlights, all of this happened while the other things were happening, right? Like while people were fixing bugs, people were also making features. March 2025, still on the release candidate 2 for the 4.1 with more fixes. And finally, by the end of March, the release with the new game by Consumer Soft Products, known for Cruelty Squad, as a highlighted game. And yeah, basically it's 4.4 but with more fixes. Not super exciting, but very necessary if you're making a game. Another post in March by the XR community. As I said, Bastian is doing a great job doing that, and I think people like when we do updates per area. We might want to revisit doing those a little bit more. They cover the results of a jam with some games that you can go and play. They are all made in Godot in XR, and it's quite exciting because I think in VR specifically, a lot of the big games get started like this. It's good to get the experience of trying it out, do something fun, and if it's fun, you can always expand it and make something bigger. So if you are interested in XR community game jams, they host them on the XR team, and you should join. They will do this year as well, as far as I know. I hope they do. Which blog mentions the vertex shading? So vertex shading, the one that I was covering back then, was the 4.4 release, the 4.4 release page. Okay, we go to April. More dev snapshots. That means that we get new features here dedicated to the navigation server, which that's good. Reorganize shader editor UI, change language without restart, which might not be a big deal if you are using Godot in a single language, which most of you should. But if you're a content creator and you want to actually make a screenshot and you're doing the documentation in many languages and you want to have the same screenshot of the same area of the editor in 3-4 different languages, this is incredible. So yeah, it's quite good. Fragment density map support, Wayland native sub window support. Wayland always something that the community it's lagging a little bit behind, but a hot topic in the Linux world. And yeah, a bunch more improvements that I'm not gonna go into because if not, we're gonna be here forever. End of April. So April was more chill than March. Less posts, less releases. That usually is because we go to events like GTC, things like that, and I think that was the case here. We are not going to GTC this year because there isn't many reasons why to go. Last times we went there, we were sponsored by other companies to go, so we were not spending a lot of money ourselves. Most of the money was spent by that pool that got given to us to go to the event. This year we don't have that, so we will probably not go. Anyway, let's see. Another showcase. This is similar to the Museum of Everything, which basically is an interview to somebody that's doing a cool project in Godot. And this one was done also by Bastian at the beginning of May. Let's see. Will using GD extension C++ improve the performance of my game? It depends, not necessarily. Let's see. It's great for me because I teach in Spanish, but more resources are in English, so easy to check the right ones, the right options. Yeah, that's a good one. I remember I always install Linux in English to look for the error messages properly. It's supported on one line. Godot version on Steam has it disabled since it requires me to switch to X11 to embed the game. Yeah, I think you should download it from the website, not use the Steam version. Like, I do get why people want to use the Steam version, but yeah, I'm not sure how that works exactly. But yeah. And also in the newer versions, there's better support for all the Wayland things. So if you are a Wayland user, you should check out the 4.6 latest beta. Yeah, sorry, Sir Blanco. Like for the GD extension to improve the performance, most of the time you can get away with improving the performance through GD script. But if you want to do something that's really, really, really costly, you can always do a GD extension. You can find talks about it in the YouTube channel, probably on Godot.con. I think it was Godot.con in Berlin or something like that, where people talk about making GD extensions on Y and things like that. I don't remember right now off the top of my head, but yeah. So the showcase Somar is an XR project about marine life, and they use Godot to do all this, which is a use that you don't really get to see, but many people want to do things that are not necessarily games in VR, but you need to use a game engine either way, because whatever experience you want to do, it cannot be a video. I mean, it can, but usually it's not as good to use the depth and all that. So using a game engine makes perfect sense, and Godot is more than prepared for showing all that dialogues, buttons, clickable things. I think it's quite good. And it's also a non-profit organization, so it's always good to showcase these sort of projects. Great interview. Yeah, thank you to Fred and Daniel. Then May, that's from when we were doing the Godot in Boston. Adam was able to showcase the first steps we took to do the .NET embed of web games, which is something that still hasn't been able to make it to main, to master. And I think eventually it will, but there's many things going on at the moment, and we don't have enough resources to dedicate it the proper time it deserves. I know it's a highly requested feature, and the team was working hard on getting this, but there's other things like the moving the .NET to GD extension, that's a higher priority at the time. But since it was a prototype and we were showing it at the GodotCon in Boston and not everybody was able to go there, it was good to make a post. So Adam made a post explaining the same. So if you didn't have the time or the resources to go, you still get all the information that we shared there. Now we get to May. I'm gonna drink a bit of water. May 13th. Okay, another dev release for 4.5. macOS embedded Windows support. This was something when we released the embed support for testing. This was not possible, and Stuart, the same person who also contributed all the other Mac things, as I said before, went and said like, okay, let's do it. And it works great. Honestly, this usually is quite a hack because you're actually creating a different process and showing the window there, but doesn't matter what it is in the background. What it matters is that the user gets all the benefits from it. I don't know exactly how it was implemented on Mac specifically, but here it says it was different from the Windows and Linux, so it's probably a proper way of embedding it. The explanation is here, but we need to move fast. 3D physics interpolation to Sintreat. Okay, so that's a change. Export as variant. This was very good because you really don't know how your plugin or your users are going to be using one of the variables you have there, and since it got a dynamicity type, why not allowing any kind of export? The crazy outlines on label. I think this one it's a bit silly when you see it like this, but when you don't have this ability and then you really want to add an extra outline, you appreciate it. Okay. Shader precompilation when? No idea. I hear the hack is right one. Yeah. Can I get a free Godot plushie? No, unfortunately no. But that would be something that maybe we could do like a contest or something like that and give a plushie at the end. I think that would be it. The thing is, like for us, like the plushie, it's cool and all that, but most of the money from it goes to the company who is making the plushie and who's shipping it. So yeah, there's better ways to support the project, but I know people want to have the plushie there. So the one I do have is the version that you get when you're designing it with them. They send you like a version like, okay, this is how it will look like. Do you like it? And if you approve it, that's it. So it's the prototype. It's not even like the plushie that got sold. But yeah, maybe we can do some contest to give people some plushies. Yeah. Okay, so this is more features. Another one for 5.5 on June, and native Vision OS support. Vision OS, as you know, it's this Apple VR stuff, and that was contributed by Apple. So that's great. They have not been selling too well, but I believe that the OS that they are gonna use, the Vision OS, is also gonna be the same that they might eventually do, like everybody else now that's doing some classes. I think everybody should get together and do a standard for how those should look like. But those companies, they all want to do their own way of doing things. But if you're targeting those sort of users, why not? Abstract classes in GDScript. I heard many people like this. Myself, I don't think I would ever use this, but it's great that it exists. Shader Baker. Hey, who was asking about Shader Baker? Well, it's here. in June 2nd of 2025. Okay, the loading times here, the WebAssembly SIMD support, inline color pickers. This is such a good thing to have. Some rendering, those that you have to open and pixel hunt to see the improvements. You can really notice here, like in the couch itself, the difference. If I open it, it will be better, but anyway. Performance boost for the web platform. This a post by Adam. What? I love abstract classes. Keeps me more organized. Yeah. Everybody in the chat really love abstract classes. Yeah. I never used them, and I don't think I ever will. I try to use GDScript as bare bones as possible. But yeah. Okay. So this is some improvements that Adam did, which is like a better explanation of Wasm Simdi. This is always good. And there's another improvement that Adam is working on, still on a prototype, which will be a way for you to make the Godot builds on web be smaller, so you can load them faster and then keep loading the rest as you're playing. So more performance boosts are coming. The GodotCon Europe, Godot Fest Munich. This was the announcement by the Godot Fest team and announcing in June. It was a great event. I already talked about it when I went there. I got also this amazing coaster, but by the meme lord himself, Stein make games, because making Dig Dig Boom. Great coaster, but I'm not using it as one. I have it there. I feel bad putting a coffee mug or something like that on top of it. Then we had the beta 1, and as I said before, beta 1 is the post where it includes all the changes. This was in June, so it's a juicy post compiling everything by sections and everything that happened before. And there were many things. The animation bend, that was also like a lot of people liked it. Audio video, always very small. The C# changes to core, documentation, the editor. It's so many things, like the same. I see like the dragons before. So many things that get included in one of these releases, that when you put them all together, you can really see. And all this, it's like what, half of the year still. Here's the feature we were talking about, the changing the language also of the preview game. That's very handy if you are testing if your text breaks or not in different languages. Incredible. The physics track that we saw before, the Android platform improvements, the action panel. I've heard people praising this one recently, especially if you're making a game on your phone and you want to have like easy access to this sort of, undo, redo, delete, save, all that. It's great to have them there. But yeah, the Wayland changes that we covered, Vision OS, this one, the stencils, that was also a big one that people really liked. I've seen, I think, Games from Scratch did a video about it and showcased it a little bit. And all the other fancy rendering things. So now we repeated the process, same people again. This time it was Adam also doing the website. We're gonna get to it once we finish with all the betas. That's in the future for 2025. Okay, what's new in Android XR? So here, Fredia, who's been the Android team lead for a long time, did a talk together with the people from the XR team, and they talk about it in the GodotCon in Boston. You have the video here if you want to see it, but the updates are also here. Very interesting to see like the amount of installs and the amount of people, like so many people from Brazil and from India were using the mobile version and are still using the mobile version of Godot, which makes sense. A lot of people there have like Android being their main device, so it's great that they can use it. And yeah, this was also like a good surprise, because when the idea of taking Godot, the Godot editor, and putting it into an Android operating system came about, everybody was thinking, okay, you have a Chromebook, you have a tablet, and then you connect a keyboard and a mouse, and then you can use it, because you're not thinking how you're going to be doing everything in such a small screen. And we said, okay, nobody's going to be using it in their phones, right? Everybody's going to be using it in their tablets. And that's not the case. It's like 86.9% of people are using it in their phones, and it's only like, I don't know, like 10% of people using it on tablets or other sort of devices. Incredible. Like yeah, just a lot. Actually, during the Godot Fest, there were people making a game in a very small phone. It was very, very fun. The XR editor that we already covered, and yeah, many updates for new headsets, hybrid apps, which is something that you can have your app running on 3D while you are on the how's it called, like the extended reality thing. I think it's what many people want, like having an app where you have 3D stuff and then your app. Anyway, yeah, that was an update. And then we got a maintenance release for 3.6.1. And every time we release anything on 3.6, people are like, hey, why are you guys working on 3.6? You should be working on 4. In this case 4.5 it was at this time. But you can imagine there's so many games that have been released in Godot 3 that are still getting millions and millions of users. There's things you have to update. If you have an app, you need to keep up to date. And most of the people, I would say like 90% of the work that does go to the Godot 3 branch is done by volunteers. And maybe the 10% is what the foundation does. So it's not a lot of resources. And it's also sending a good signal for people. If we go to Godot 5 eventually, which might happen, that Godot 4 is not going to get abandoned. You're still going to be getting updates. So yeah, I see the chat going quite fast, but yeah, it seems to be like a nice conversation about the traits. Yeah. Okay. Let's go. I have a lot of posts. We're already on the hour. I think I'm going to continue. Do you want me to continue through the year? Should we keep going? Let's keep going, I guess. The community poll for 2025. We can see the results. That's something we ask every year. This year, I really liked what Blender did with their report. We might copy it. Just if it's open source, we use that. If not, we have to recreate something. Great insight, and this helps a lot, more than you can imagine. A lot of the work I do is going to talk with companies, and the companies are like, they want to know, why should we invest in Godot? Like, if Godot is free, like what do we get out of it? And who is actually using Godot, because if you don't have analytics, like I don't even know, right? Like, we had sponsorship from different companies, like let's say JetBrains, which will come later in the post. And these sort of companies, when they want to sponsor you, they want to know more or less who are they going to be exposed to, because like the company wants to be in front of the users, so to make that decision they need to know more. The poll has been great to giving that answer, right? Like, who are actually using Godot, who is that sort of user. And this is something that there isn't many ways for us to get them other than asking, because we don't have analytics on the editor, we don't have analytics in other places that we can actually get this information. And it also helps us know, is the community growing? Are people getting older? Do new people come in? Are people stuck in old versions? What do they think about what we're doing in different areas? So we ask all these questions, and it's always great to see. There is always a question that terrifies me, which is this one: do you use version control? And I have to say, it's getting better. In 2024, we had like a third of the people didn't use version control, and now it's less than 25%. So I'm happy. I think we're winning the war against people losing their projects because they don't use version control. I hope that in 2026, these 1,200 people that are not using version control reconsider, and the people who don't know what it is, they know what it is. But yeah, it's very fun to use. Your message is being deleted. I'm not deleting any message, and I don't think there's any moderators at the moment, but there is on the YouTube chat, there are two modes. There is the live chat mode and the top chat mode. You might want to change that, because sometimes you see like YouTube decides that a post can be not good. I don't know. It happens a lot even in our videos. But anyway. So yeah, I think I got a question about this before. Do you make a historical graph based on this? No, because the data here is quite difficult to get it out of here. Like, you can get a CSV with all of this. It's not ideal. We share it also with people. I think it would be nice to be able to get the data in a different format, and then we can create a platform where we can actually compare with previous years and things like that. There's also some questions that we change a little bit before, so it's harder to compare from here to the previous ones. But when was this poll made? Well, we asked about it on the 30th of June, and I think we gave like a month or like a few weeks to people to complete it. We're gonna do another one this year, but yeah, it's quite important. That's what I want to say. Quite important. Okay, July, we got a beta 2. As always, the beta 1 is the exciting one. The beta 2 not so much, because no new features. Again, we're gonna move forward. Beta 3, the interview to the Dogwalk team. This is something that got me really, really happy, and a lot of people on the community got very happy. The Blender Studio is also doing like some YouTube videos where they show how they work, kind of like a blog, and it was great seeing them also working on Dogwalk. Has anything come of the Dogwalk workflow yet? Yes, like they publish all their workflow. We fixed many bugs because while they were working on it, they were reporting things directly to us, and we were assigning people from the foundation to fix them. So many of the fixes that you see in 4.5 are addressing this. And yeah, I think people were expecting that you will magically get a button that does everything for you, but on the Blender Studio side, they explain exactly what their workflow was. Even though they say that if they were to start over, they would do it even easier than what they did it, because at the beginning they didn't know Godot that well. But yeah, the collaboration was good. We were able to fix many issues on the GLTF importer, which was the biggest issue. And the game, it's basically a big GLTF file that they export and import in Godot. So yeah. Um, if you are interested, you can go read this interview, which I asked them some things about the process, and also on their website they have more things. But it was great to see. Looking forward to see if they make a new game in the future. Would be super cool if they pick Godot again. Um, okay, David now. David, great great content creator as well. You have his channel here on YouTube as well. You can search for David Snopek, who's also part of the XR team. Did here an update for the plugin for the OpenXR. Again, the XR team is the most professional when it comes to making reports. Would be nice to get some other teams to do the same. But yeah. Guilty. I did think there'd be a very simple export involved from it. Well, I think it's better. Like, the idea is that you should be able to export things to GLTF and open them in Godot without doing much. And I think we're getting there. There's things that we, of course, want to still improve. But, in a pipeline of a studio, a game studio, you still need to actually do those sort of like custom made solutions for your team, for your artist, for your programmer, for how you have the project set up, that we're never going to be able to make kind of like a one solution that will fit everyone. So improvements have to be made, but it's impossible to find one solution for everybody. This is great, by the way, this video. But yeah, okay. Beta 4, again, betas, we're not gonna go there. The sponsorships from JetBrains in August. So this was great. Really appreciate JetBrains. If you are doing games in C#, probably you were using them before, like the Rider editor, and they also came out with the non-commercial use for free, which is something that I know stopped many people from using it, because you had to pay before. So this is great, and I think it's what most people should do. Most companies think they should give like a free non-commercial use software, and then if you are already making money with it, you should pay for it. That's great. And yeah, they've been great as sponsors. Like, they really are excited about Godot, and they didn't ask us to use this money for anything in particular, which is the best kind of sponsorship we can get. They told us, like, improve Godot, and that's the best, because then we can take that money and use it for improving Godot. And yeah, it's been great, and looking forward to see what they do in the future. I know in the Godot Fest in Munich, they showed some cool tech that they're working on. And yeah, if you are doing now GDScript or C# with Godot, you can use the editor. And yeah, super good. Thank you very much for the sponsorship. Beta 5 in August. We're getting there. Like, then the submissions were open for the 2025 showreel, which it's now over here. Let's see. Oh, it's not even this one. This one is 2023. 24. Okay, here. 2025. So here's where we open. Let's make it a bit bigger, like the showreel that we have there always playing. the the submissions open in August. That's where we started collecting the videos. And this time the change was that people were able to vote. So if you were donating to Godot and you wanted to see the trailers and vote and decide, you could do that. You will be able to do the same in 2026. I think that people who did it enjoyed it, and it's always nice. Maybe this year I can do some voting here live with all of you, and then you can finish yourself if you want to donate. Add more video formats in Godot. I would love to, but the licenses for the video formats or the encoders, decoders, and all that are a nightmare. And the problem is that if we do include those, then we need to include a lot of libraries and a lot of things that will make it really hard for you to have a closed sourced game. It's very tricky, very tricky. There is some plugins though that you can use. I know it's not ideal, but we were exploring to maybe provide an official plugin for loading videos, mostly for desktop platforms. The problem always is, it's not always like, if we add something in Godot, it needs to work on mobile, it needs to work on web, it needs to work on desktop, it needs to work on consoles. And in this case, it will not be as easy for video. So if we provide a plugin that we say, this is only for Windows, Linux, and Mac, I think we can do that. And we should do that. But it would be like a JIT extension or something like that. But yeah. Moving forward, beta 6, we're going to skip. Still in August. Beta 7, still in August. Godot XR, the community, another update. As I said, this video, I don't know if you watched it, it was really interesting. They went over making like an entire game for, oh, what's happening here? Okay, I'm going to stop it. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong there. They made like an entire video showing, I think, 3 developers or 2 developers making their own games in the headset without taking it off, which is quite a feat. Then release candidate for 4.5 in September. Again, a lot of people test this one, so you can expect a few more release candidates, which we got release candidate 2 by September 10th. And a miracle. The third one was the 4.5 release, which, you know, it has, like, before you update, like, there's a migration guide. This is very useful. Great video there by Lander VR on the background. Lander van Regenmortel. That's why it's Lander VR. I always thought it was because of VR. But yeah. And many improvements. This was a big release, but I have to say, analytics wise, in our platforms, in the things that we can track, which is not much, but you know, like on the website, things like that, this release had less impact than the previous ones. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was the timing. I don't know if, you know, like, people were not as excited with the features we added on this one, but it's what kind of made us think like, maybe something's not as good as the last one, or maybe we need to change the approach. And you can see here with the text as well without NAT in this release. The text is much longer everywhere, and it's looks more like the documentation pages, so it's a bit more aggressive, I would say, for newcomers. So that's one of the reasons I suspect that people like didn't go too deep into it. There isn't too many nice videos at the beginning, but you know, those are things that hopefully we're gonna address on the next release. Still, I feel like the release was quite good. Like, all the features we were covering up until now were quite good already on their own. So all of them together on a single release, I think 4.5 was quite mature and very stable. I don't hear a lot of people complaining about the features we added in this release or like the stability. I think 4.4 was a bit more problematic. Um, but yeah, too many. Like this one, I know people don't get too excited about it, but it's a big deal if you're making software. I don't know if the stream will butcher the quality, but basically, like getting more high definition images if you're making software is really cool. And yeah, maybe that's the reason. Now that I'm reviewing it again, like there isn't too many images because some things are hard to make a video out of. Um, so for the release, it might not has been as flashy as the other ones. Still a packed release. Many things. And as always, when I get to the end, here's the best way to compare these images. We should do this on the blog post as well, because the shadow there that you can see here on the wall is really hard to notice when you're not looking at it on a here and like comparing the two. The updates for this seem less noticeable in engine like 4.4 with physics and animation updates. Yes, that's also we cannot really choose. But yeah, look at the difference here. It's so much better. So much better. Like once you see it like this, it's so fake. Right. Anyway, a lot of people contributed to this. Again, the cloud of names. The bigger the size, the more contributions they did. But it doesn't matter. There's also a lot of people who don't show up here because they might have done contributions that are, text, images, or things like that, that just end up not being able to be scraped using GitHub and checking who contributed directly to the main repository. But still, quite good. 2,500 commits, that's a lot. And still in September, we couldn't take a rest from the release. Hugo had this documentation blog post, which was great. And I think that's something that I talk a lot about in these streams. The documentation has seen so many improvements over the years and is so much better now than it used to be that we don't get people saying, oh, documentation in Godot is not that good. So if you're interested to get into how we do the documentation, this blog post goes into all the places that you need to be and how the process work to get the documentations to the point where we have it. And they've been doing a phenomenal work. I'm super proud of what we have here. And yeah, thank you, Hugo, for doing this. It takes time. It's not a good what? Yeah. Before in the past, people used to complain about the status of the docs, but I don't think that's the case anymore. But yeah. Okay. 4.5 release. We get to the current timeline where we are working in 4.6, which started first dev snapshot in September. I had issues searching for specific things in the docs as of late. Yeah, in those cases, maybe you have to use a regular search engine like DuckDuckGo or anything like that, and use site documentation that godotengine.org and use like a third-party search engine to find the results. Regular search engine shows forum posts first. Yeah, but that you can specify the URL docs.godotengine.org and it will find it only there. But yeah, that's a trick that you can use. But we are using Read the Docs, which is a service that we don't provide like we don't have. We are basically using their service, so there isn't much we can do to improve that. Um, but yeah. Okay, so while 4.5 was getting polished, and people were still working on getting it improved, and we still we get the first glimpse at what the new features are going to be for this release that should happen soon. We're getting closer to it. Um, yeah, different changes like in focus, in the changing the theme, and having to reboot the editor. I wonder if that might be related to some other theme related changes that might happen. Um, the Again, like I like a lot of the changes here. I'm not gonna go over them, but the editor is now under heavy development for the new theme. I think it's mostly ironing out things right now, but I do see that Yelham and Passive Star have been working really, really hard. Like they go out of their way to find every little thing that might not look properly and fix it. Yeah, the alt drop for making export virus is by far the feature I'm most excited about. Yeah, it's such a small thing, save me tons of time in the long run. Yeah, those are always great. So this is a post by Chad, who's one of the hosts of the GodotCon in Boston. Chad did a lot for making the conference happen. So really, really thankful to him. Even if he didn't want to get so involved at the beginning, he did a lot. He did quite a lot, and also he did this post recapping it, and also announcing that the new one will happen as well. You can see me here giving a talk about the history of the GodotCons, a very small intro. This is not on YouTube because it was just very short and exclusive content for the conference. And yeah, all the videos are uploaded on the website. The venue was great. There was construction though, which that wasn't great, but they didn't do a lot of noise most of the time. But sometimes they were quite noisy. And some cool merch, also designed by Thibaut. We're so lucky to have people like Thibaut in the community that can do things like this. And yeah, there's also the anthology. This like a cassette with the games that were showcased. And yeah, that's exclusive for the conference. Inside the cassette, there was a USB. It's not like you need a cassette player. But yeah, that was great to have on October. Then we got the 4.5.1 as always. You get to see the pattern here, the RC2 in October. Then we had Hugo, who's also the one who did the latest post about the documentation. Did an interview for the Material Maker software that's been built in Godot by Rodzilla. What's his name? Rodolph Sueskun. Rodzilla. That's how I know him by Rodzilla. Material Maker, which is like incredible. Every time I see people use this software, it's like magic to me. I don't know how they do it. I'm glad that they are doing it, and it's great software that not only benefits Godot because you can use this sort of textures and materials in any other game engine, and that's great to see because a Material Maker is made with Godot, but not exclusive to it. So everybody in the community benefits. But yeah. Okay. Let's see the chat a little bit. Unreal Engine wants to be an all-in-one tool. Yeah. Okay. Oh wow, so many chats. Okay. Um, I'm gonna continue through this because we still have quite some time to go. But yeah, maybe we can do a longer Q&A next Wednesday. Um, okay, 15th of October, the 4.1 release, uh, fixing changes. The Dev 2, which brought the building Godot's library, the Godot lib. I covered this in a Godot stream, I believe, in a Godot Tomorrow. You can check on this channel. The ObjectDB profiling tool, which I didn't understand, I remember at the time, but now that I've seen how it works, it's great. The LODs updates, the rotation visualization, super cool, and also the snapping. The tone mapper like fixes for HDR, I believe. Yes, for HDR and many more. Again, always look into this list in the and more. There's a lot of gold in here that we didn't get to highlight, but there's always many gold. And these are not only all of the changes. Always go to the list. Okay, another release for 3.6.2, which was funny that we decided to highlight this game, which is, where is it? Here, House of Necrosis. And then we just got confused and we highlighted it again in another 4.x release. So they got double feature. I think it's the only game we showcase more than once. So that's some trivia for you to know about Godot. Dev 3, which had the new theme. I think if you try it out right now, you will see it has addressed, I would say, all the feedback that was mentioned, like compared to the extension one, like the contrast of the elements, how some panels were missing in the new theme, like how buttons look, how many things, like the spacing of many of the elements. I think right now it already addressed all those issues, and I think it's so much better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what the reception of it is once it gets released. Even if it's a controversial topic, I've seen that most people, I would say 80-90% of people, were happy about it. And the concerns of the people who were not happy about it were people who didn't think you could use the previous theme, which you can. People who didn't like the gray, which you can change to blue. Or people who didn't think there was enough contrast in the theme, which that was improved by Passive Star. So I think the biggest complaints have been addressed. And yeah, this sort of improvements is something I would like to see more as well, which is tools that we already have, and regardless of if it's the new theme or the old theme, they don't look as good. But yeah, rendering improvements for the, how's it called, SSR, I believe is the term that people use, the screen space reflections. I have another stream about it, and now I get into the territory of things that I already covered. 3.7 dev release, that was cool to see. We didn't know if there was going to be a 3.7 at all, but Longeli said, why not? After all this time, why not have a 3.7? So they got working on that one. And here we have the game, the repeated game, House of Necrosis again, for Dev 4. We said like, hey, we should change it, but then the post was already everywhere, and it would feel weird to then change the image and highlight some project, so we didn't. Here we have the amazing videos that I see Lucy on the chat might be familiar with. Some improvements on the project manager to use it with keyboard and stuff like that. The actual project manager, I need to write a proposal. It will very likely get overhauled for 4.7, and I would like you to help me maybe with something we can do in a stream, to work on that proposal and discuss it, because there's many things that the new project manager needs to address, and there's many ways of doing it. So we need to work on it. Excuse me, I need to. Here, being able to change the settings, build system improvements, and the gold. Then some sponsorship again, this time again for Android and XR. So it's just a grant to work on better XR tools and plugins for making games for Android and XR. Bastian here talks about it. Thank you to W4 Games for this sponsorship. And it gets followed up on the 21st of November by Godot XR update. Another one here showcasing the game I mentioned before, which is the release for the Meta Quest, which, this wasn't something that you could actually do, but you can now, because it has different requirements. I think some work has been was needed. And it has very good reviews, 4.8 of reviews. That's quite good. Okay. Some games from the Jam. And the next post is Step 5 featuring Kingdoms of the Damp, which is a game that's actually using Godot 2, Godot 2.1. So if you're making excuses, if you're saying you cannot use Godot until it has a feature, or you cannot make your game until Godot 5 releases, those are excuses. You could since Godot 2.1. I don't know if I would recommend it though, but you can. And the game has been doing really well. 664 positive reviews. It's great. The love and the passion that these developers have for making this game, you can see it everywhere. But yeah, it's been in development for a long time. I see here in the chat. I'm curious what is keeping them from upgrading. I suspect, I don't know, I haven't talked with the developers myself. I suspect that they developed some tools to make the game, and they didn't touch Godot that much, other than for the rendering and the input and things like that. And that was, since it's a pixel art game, you should have everything you need in Godot 2, like no problem. And I see that recently, and I don't want to call out people too much, but recently I've been seeing people asking for very, very high complexity features for rendering. And then I check the game and it's a pixel art game, which all good with pixel art, but it's like, if you want to get into that level of detail, maybe you should just do it in the sprites themselves. Like, I don't know why complicate yourself too much with it, but I might not know what they want to achieve exactly, and maybe there's no other way. But yeah, if you're making it to the game, you have more than enough with Godot 3, Godot 2, even Godot 4. But yeah, would be good if you can interview them. Yeah, it would be super interesting to interview them. Like Lumen or Nanite. Yeah. Lumen and Nanite are examples of very incredible technologies, but that they work very well as a marketing piece, but I haven't seen work very well on games themselves. And I don't think that Lumen or Nanite are going to be the difference between you selling a fun game or not. I think maybe it's easier on the eye if you have those, but I don't think that that's the most important thing in the game. And there's a lot. I don't want to get too much into it. We need to finish the year. Okay. That was December. We're getting closer to the end. Dev 6 on the 5th of December. Um, you get the Tracy profile support. So people want more profiling options. We are giving them more profiling options. Um, the profiler is something that people that are trying to optimize the game really need to actually know what's up. This is the best way of doing it. Storage access framework support. So if you're doing software with Godot and things like that, makes I think is for the external storage. Yeah, to use different files in the system and all that. I think mobile phones, that's what they like the most. Beta 1, so this is the long post, and this is again one of the reasons why I also wanted to chat more about this. I thought the stream was going to be shorter. I underestimated how many posts we did last year. But this post on socials, at least, didn't get shared too much. Like maybe the same amount of times that any other snapshot got shared. So I don't know if people didn't notice that this was the beta 1. And I even saw yeah, not a lot of conversation about it. So I don't know if people are not excited about all these changes, or they just didn't know, or that maybe December was not a good month. But yeah. So we have a question here. Why are you not spending the money on engineers and hiring community managers instead? So we don't have any community manager. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah. I left on social, lol. Maybe more people aren't as active. That was my initial response as well. I myself and many other people on the team are not that active on social media lately. So that could be it, especially since it got so polarized and people are so angry about everything. I think maybe people are ignoring it. Um, Unfortunately, that was a great way for us to see like how much interest there is, right? If you get like 1,000 retweets or something like that, or shares or likes or whatever, you can compare it with the previous release. But we've seen everywhere, like not only in our project, in many other projects, that the engagement in social media has decreased in general. So it's clear that people are not as engaged as before, but that leaves us in a spot where we really don't know if people are liking the updates or not. We need to start looking for other signals. Maybe we can start checking more, the analytics on the website, like how many visits the website gets. Maybe we can start checking how many people access the RSS feed, things like that. But yeah. Anyway, like this post, it's covering all the different things that I already covered on the previous ones. It's the big one. I think there's many cool changes on this release, but we'll see. We need to make a nice release page and consider how we're gonna be doing moving forward. If this is a format that people like, we still of course want to keep doing it, but we've been doing it already for a couple of years. Maybe we need to think if things changed enough for us to consider to do something else. But with all that said before about the release pages, this post was the opposite. This post was universally liked by everybody, shared across the globe. I understand the appeal, the inverse kinematics, and I also think it really helps that Tokage does really cool art for his posts. But yeah, it's a progress report like the ones we've seen in other areas, but I feel like this time in this one it really resonated with people and was a feature that people were expecting to use a lot. And yeah, we're happy. That's why maybe instead of doing so many posts about the snapshots and things like that, we can do less of those posts and do more videos, or more dedicated progress reports about this. But yeah. it's interesting to see. um GFS, Game from Scratch, did a video on this as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I prefer those posts in detail. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, the problem with this is that you need to get, in this case, Tokage. He's not a native English speaker. Neither am I. Neither are most of the team. But you need to ask somebody, in this case, who speaks Japanese, like, hey, can you make a post that's super long, super detailed, super technical in a language that you don't speak, and take all that time that you could be playing video games or making cool shit. Can you do a post? It's like it's hard to ask people that. They do it, and we're really really appreciative of that, and I think they like it when the work they do gets the spot on the highlight and all that. But it's a big commitment, and I don't want to get the people on the foundation, the people who are working for the foundation, to be bothered by me. Imagine me coming like every 2 months, going like, hey, where's that update? Where's that blog post? I want you to write a blog post. It's like, it would be terrible. Imagine you're working on something, you get somebody breathing down your neck. And the solution could be hire someone that's really good at making these blog posts, but that person also needs to know exactly what to talk about and how to show it. So they will need to bother the developer anyway. They're gonna have to go and go, okay, but when you say this here, what do you mean when this is like, it's quite complicated, but I'm sure we can figure something out. And to finish up, an hour and 43 minutes after starting with this adventure of 2025, the last snapshot and the last blog post of 2025 was the beta 2. Again, with betas, not a lot of new things, only fixes. And that concludes our adventure into what happened in Godot in 2025. But a lot of other things have happened that are not in the blog. We've done many other things that are not specifically highlighted here. And that's what I'm trying to do a little bit with these streams. And I think I will continue doing them as long as people like them. But yeah, regarding the future Godot Tomorrow streams, I think for the next one, we can do that, discuss a little bit what we want to do. I see here some questions already. Maybe I can answer a little bit more. If you have any questions now for the chat, please do. And maybe we can do 10 minutes. And yeah, then next stream, we can go back to normal because, yeah, as people mentioned on the chat already, while we were doing this stream, there is the beta 3, but that's already maybe for covering in the next week. Yeah, let's see some questions and then we can say our goodbyes. Thank you for your hard work. You're awesome. Well, thank you for everybody who's donating, who's the people who are making it possible for us to dedicate the time to do all this. So yeah, any news on what YouTube, Twitch events Godot plans to do in the future? For example, creator takeovers. So the creator takeovers was something that I think on paper looked really cool, but didn't have as much impact as we would have hoped. And it took time from those creators to make content for our channel, and it didn't translate too much into more viewers for them or to more, I don't know. If we do something, it has to be, maybe an interview, something like that, like I did with Clay before. But I would love for people. I tried, to ask every time I have the chance, if they want to collaborate or do something. And most of the time, I understand that they prefer to make content for their main channel because that's what they are focusing on. So yeah. There are any recent new features for Graph Edit and Graph Nodes? I think there were. If I recall correctly, there were improvements in 4.6. I cannot tell you out of the top of my head right now. Um, have you seen Ink and Switch Godot Patchwork plugin for live collaboration and native version control? It's pretty cool. I've heard about it. I heard about it during the Godot Fest. I think I talked with some of the developers. If I recall correctly, they were developing it. Looks really interesting. Um, and yeah, I don't know if I got in touch with them afterwards because I believe they had some issues in how to display things in the editor. And it's like, okay, once we find those sorts of things, like, okay, we know that that's pretty important. We should probably dedicate some time to it. And assign that to some of our engineers, because if they were not able to do some certain things in the editor, then that's a good indication that other people might want to do that as well. But yeah, I think a lot should focus on lower end. We are entering an era where high-end graphics will be an untouchable commodity because of AI companies weighing it all. I think so as well, yes, but I think that's already the case. We are not targeting, like, we're our defaults, and what people do is not so high end. You still have things like the compatibility render, which is OpenGL, which might run well on everything, and things like the direct D3, D12, or the metal render, and all those are targeting the native platforms as native as possible, and that should hopefully improve the performance. So you don't really need a lot of resources. I don't know if you notice when you open Godot versus opening other software, Godot is not as demanding. So we are getting there. But yeah. I disagree. Godot needs to continue to improve 3D and high-end graphics to gain more traction. Yeah, that will not stop. Like, I don't think that people who are interested in rendering and the rendering team and all that, I think they will continue to improve 3D. I've heard of some really cool things that people are doing with Godot itself, and they might announce it and donate it if they want to. But there's always improvements, and the problem with those high-end things is that I don't think there's enough. It's a chicken and an egg problem, right? I don't think there's enough studios that really need them to battle test them, to actually use them in production, to actually see what needs to be improved properly, for us to notice what things might be missing. And maybe that's the reason why people are not using it. So yeah, I still think that it will keep improving. Funny to see Stein's laser cut Garrett in the background. Yes, yeah, that always there, creeping. There will be a canvas group for control nodes. I don't think so. I don't think so. If you think you need something like that, you should open a proposal. But yeah. Isn't Garrett already very focused on low end? At least I don't think it's neglected at all. Yeah, no, I don't think it's neglected either. I think the industry as a whole has moved past that. Like, I really don't, I mean, I understand, but I really don't think the Vulkan renderer in general, not ours, just Vulkan as a library, accomplish its promise. And still, OpenGL is something that most people are happy with, but devices like the Apple devices are deprecating it. Mobile phones are, deprecating it and not support it that well. So it's like the industry wants to move past those technologies that are very well tested and very performant and all that. And the alternatives like Vulkan, they break all the time, unfortunately. Like, all the driver supports, like the driver issues we have with NVIDIA, with AMD, those are terrible things when they happen, and they don't happen with OpenGL. So yeah, that's my opinion. If you want to know more about rendering, I did a couple of Godot Tomorrows ago an interview with Clay, who's the rendering lead, and I think he goes more in depth with all the philosophy behind our rendering and things like that, and answers many questions from you. Have you ever thought of having an official Godot certificate like Linux Foundation has to certify engine knowledge. So we've been approached by several companies to develop something like this. We didn't like so far any of them to actually be good judges, and we don't want to invest the foundation money in doing all that certification program, because I'm not sure how valuable it would be for now. So if there's a company or like an organization that wants to do it and they fit like in the ethos of, if their goal is to educate people and not just to sell you courses and things like that, then maybe it can happen with a collaboration. But for now, we don't have any plans to do any certification process. But we'll see. We'll see. Where can we follow you online or your work besides Godot in general? So I have a website which is Coppola Emilio at .com, or on Blue Sky. You should be able to find me. But yeah, if you look Emilio Godot, you will find me. I don't think it's hard. But yeah, 2D will have more light options. I don't think so. What light options? I think you already have everything you might need, but if you need something custom, then might be very specific for your game. But yeah. Any plans to reduce the number of issues PRs on GitHub, like a version focus on it, like 3.0 or 3.2 back in the day? That's something that it's always happening. The problem is that they get open at a higher rate than we get to close them. But the ratio, if you check them, it's quite big. I think we are 3 to 1 in terms of like closed issues to open ones. I answered these questions on the Godot Fest Q&A that I did. Let me see if I can find it here. I will share it on the chat. 1 second. Godot Fest Q&A. Yes, here. I don't remember exactly when, and I'm sorry, I don't think they added any timestamps. But on this talk, I answered about the amount of open issues. I think it was one of the first questions, if I remember correctly. But yeah. Certificates aren't really all that valuable in software engineering, even less so in game dev. In my experience, IT is different. Yeah. I think it makes sense if you want to approach, let's say, an educational institution. Like, let's say you have a course about how to teach Godot to high schoolers or in university, and you want to sell yourself to the institution as someone who has the knowledge. I think being certified really helps, because it's like, I'm not only going to teach this software, I have this paper who says I have the knowledge to teach this software. That's one of the reasons I can see. But yeah, I don't think it will translate into people getting jobs because they are certified. But yeah. Waster Brawl Stars game plat at the back. I don't know what you mean. But yeah. All right. Almost 2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours of stream. Okay, I think it was good for the first stream of the year. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. It's been a great year, 2025. I wanted to say, I should have said this at the beginning of the stream, but we are soon going to be publishing, as soon as we get the reports, the financial reports. But we changed the firm that was doing our accounting, and we had to do a lot of, moving all the data and explaining the new accountants what charge was for which project and things like that to make the report. But we're gonna upload it in the Godot Foundation website, and hopefully we can also do the 2025 financial report as well. But those will be published also on social media and stuff like that, I think. But yeah, said that, thank you for being here. It's been great to be back. See you next week, every Wednesday at the same time. It's 5 p.m. in Europe. Um, yeah, Godot Tomorrow. And yeah, wow, so many changes. Like we went through all of those in 2 hours, but it was a full year of work. And we are soon going to be getting the new 4.6 and start all over again, as we do here. So see you, everyone. Thank you, and bye.